Continuing on, before we start today's presentation and any presentation at Royal Roads University, it is so important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and Songhees ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. So today's session is tailor-made education, laddering from a certificate to master's degree. And we have a great group of people here today to speak with us. So we have Calvin Roberts, the Associate Director of the Professional and Continuing Studies. We have Dr. Jo Axe, Program Head of the MA in Interdisciplinary Studies. We have Willem van Berg, Program Advisor, College of the Interdisciplinary Studies. And we have Chrissy Jones, an Education Advisor. And my name is Yamara Angus, and I'm also an Education Advisor. So we're all co-hosting today's presentation. So the agenda for today is a welcome and introductions, which we're doing right now. Then we're going to then jump into exploring our graduate certificates, and then an overview of your laddering options and the MA Interdisciplinary Studies. And we're going to have a question and answer period at the end. But as I mentioned, if questions come up, pop them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them, and then we'll address them all at the end of today's session. So I'm pleased to welcome up Calvin Roberts, and he will be talking about the Professional and Continuing Studies and Graduate Certificates.
Thanks, Amara. Nice to be here. We don't have a lot of time to go through Professional and Continuing Studies content, so I'm really thankful that this is recorded, and so I'm also thankful for our wonderful enrollment advisors who are on the call as well, who can answer questions and provide information in the chat itself. So and I wanted to say that I am actually coming to you directly from the lands of the Algonquin and Esquimalt peoples. I'm probably one of the only people at Royal Roads at the moment in my office, and so I'm thankful to be here and privileged to be here, and want to thank you for taking time out of your days, wherever you are, to join us and talk about ways to learn with Royal Roads and Professional and Continuing Studies and Office of Interdisciplinary Studies. So all that to say, I'm the Associate Director of Professional and Continuing Studies at Royal Roads University. I am a double alumni from this university. I also met my wife at this university, so I'm pretty ingrained in this place. It's a wonderful place. And I'm thankful to be here to kind of work and learn here. So Professional and Continuing Studies is kind of a broad area at the university. It does many amazing things and many amazing programs in the community. We work with clients. We have many what we would call non-credit courses, but that also connect to some of the credit options as well. We work with organizations. Many of you probably have heard of us working with some of the clients that we have, from crown corporations to international clients. We also have options in general studies, which is basically taking one course and stacking it on top of the next one so that you can complete a program in a different way from the traditional methods. And lots of short-term study options. So flexibility and access are keys to our learning model, and we have a variety of different ways that you can learn. And again, the basis of this conversation is just a starter for me, and so if you have any questions or concerns or anything that goes on over the next 15 minutes, please let me know, and I'm happy to get in touch with you and talk about your own personal learning journey and how we can help you do that. For the basis of this, the remainder of this presentation, I wanted to talk a little bit about our graduate programs. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Mara. There you go. So these are graduate level programs. They're short programs. Most can be completed in 6 to 8 months. Generally, they consist of three credit courses. And I would suggest that the target demographic for us and the main demographic of our students in our programs is around 41 years of age. Most, if not all, have some working experience, and a lot of them have a direct need to take the content that I'm showing you on the screen here. So whether it's workplace innovation, they recognize in their organization that they want to do more, they can see the systems and they want to improve them, or they improve them, they want to be creative. And so workplace innovation can help you do that all the way through to project management, executive coaching, human resources. And we'll talk a little bit about each content as we go through the next few slides. One of the other pieces I think is also important for us to mention is these programs don't exist in isolation. They're not just graduate certificates where you can go into them and then come out of them and do something else. We're connected to professional organizations, and the benefit of that for many of our programs is that you get relevant experience, but you also know that the content that we're developing has been in some cases vetted, in some cases aligned with, or in some cases directly from professional organizations. So as an example, our strategic human resources certificate is connected with the CPHR BC and Yukon chapter, and so that means that our curriculum has gone through them for them to review it, and that means that it's relevant. It means that it's up to date. It means that it's not old content. It means that it helps you in your career thrive and be successful. Again, the ACMP, Association of Change Management Professionals, International Coach Federation, and Project Management Institute are other organizations that we're connected to. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So this is our graduate certificate in workplace innovation. It's been around for a few years now, six years or so. And what I love about this program is it's completely online. So for those of you who have travel or commitments that don't allow you to travel to come here for residencies, but still are interested in this kind of space, this program might be something that you would want to consider because you don't have to travel to campus. Obviously, it is a very nice campus, but if you can't travel here, this might be an opportunity.
Michael sent me today's house schedule.
That wasn't me. We have an interloper. So this is one of the workplace innovations. So next slide, please. Graduate certificate in project management is aligned with the Project Management Institute. It is 6 to 7 months long, depending on when we schedule the program, and it has 2 residencies in it. At this moment in time, we've decided to move the residencies for these programs to a virtual space, obviously because of the current pandemic, but also to allow students who are thinking about taking these programs in the fall better time to plan appropriately, but also to take advantage of our universities pivot to the online environment to make these residencies virtual, and the student success. So we've had lots of student experiences and evaluations that have told us that the learning provided in virtual residencies of these programs was extremely well done. And so we'd like to continue with that to allow students a little bit more flexibility in how they complete this program. Next slide, please. Graduate certificate in executive coaching is one of those programs that's been around for I think 20 years or so. There's quite a few alumni now, probably in the thousands of students that run through this program a year. And again, it's affiliated with the International Coach Federation and has 2 residencies, both of which being virtual at this time. But the coaching profession is an emerging profession in organizations, not just for folks who want to go on and do individual coaching as a consultant, but also within organizations. Coaching is becoming more and more prevalent. And again, with all of this content that I'm throwing at you, I'm happy to have conversations with you offline about what this might look like for you and your particular learning needs. So next question, please, or next slide, please. Advanced coaching practices is sort of the next level of the executive coaching practices, executive coaching program. This program is a little bit of a different model, whereas you get to select any of the courses you see below to complete your graduate certificates. The only caveat for this program is that students have some experience or credential in executive coaching before they take the program. Due to the nature of the content, we need to be able to have that context within each program. Next slide, please. How am I doing for time? I haven't got the hook yet. There's no one coming. Our graduate certificate in strategic human resource management, again, aligns with the CPHR, Canadian Human Resource Professionals, and really is for those folks who have been in human resources for a few years and are now looking to make that next step. So rather than the tactical, tangible skill sets within strategic human resources, this is more of a strategic lens. This is kind of higher level thinking around, okay, so what, now what? I'm a manager, I'm a leader in the HR section of my organization, and I want to keep going and move forward. So this is the program that addresses those needs. Next slide, please. And organization design and development, very, very fitting that these programs are kind of all connected, because executive coaching, organization design and development, workplace innovation, obviously all relate to how best students can go back into their organizations and thrive and inspire positive change, and ensure that their organization and its culture is prepared for sustainable, scalable growth. Obviously, with the pandemic impacting many workplaces, including our own, this program is very, very timely and very relevant to what we're what we see in organizations as that they need. Next slide. And again, a graduate certificate in management and leadership. They're very broad terms, management and leadership, but really what we're talking about here is a strategic systems thinking level of programming that will allow you as a leader to go into organizations and again, manage teams effectively, see the big picture, be able to work with other stakeholders within the organization and outside of it in order to boost your career, but also to help your organization thrive. Next slide, please. Change management. I'm going to leave this one because it's pretty self-explanatory. It is a graduate certificate in change management. And so really what we're talking about is again, whole systems interventions, culture transformation, and engagement. Those are kind of elements of change management. It's all about communication and stakeholder relations. And so this program is aligned with the ACMP, the Association of Change Management Professionals, and their standard. And so therefore, that you're getting the same kind of content that anybody else taking a course affiliated with the ACMP across the world would also receive. Next slide. And again, corporate social innovation. Right now, this is at the forefront of many organizations' thinking, and it's really about social concerns going into organizations and how not necessarily about the triple bottom line, but how to integrate social factors and social concerns within the organizational fabric to again inspire positive change. Next slide. So there's the list of the course start and end dates. Many of the programs have an application process, which I'm sure our enrollment advisors would be happy to provide information on and actually help talk you through. One of the things I actually wanted to mention in my limited time was I noticed on this call and on this webinar the amount of railroad staff that are here to support you. So if you could take one thing away from this webinar, what I would like to share with you is that when you become a railroad student, you do not do it in isolation. There is a whole team of people from enrollment to admissions to the registrar to our learning technologists to our course designers who are here to support you in your learning journey. And that's one of the reasons that I decided to come back, is because I really felt like I was part of something that was bigger than myself as a student here. And I think the university itself does a very, very good job of supporting its students in a variety of ways. So in my limited time, that's what I would like you to take away. And I think I have one more slide. What's next? Which leads me to what we can do with these programs. And again, as I said before, these programs do not exist in isolation. They can connect to many other different areas of the university. And one of the pieces that I like about this program is that it's not just the end of your learning journey, it is often the beginning or the middle of your learning journey. And so with that said, I'd like to pass it over to talk up a little bit about the Office of Interdisciplinary Studies, because these programs can transfer or ladder up to about 12 credits into the next part of this program. So over to you folks.
Thank you so much, Cal. I know that's a lot of information to fit into a small amount of time. You probably need a glass of water now, and maybe a nap. So what I wanted to mention before we jump into the next part of our presentation is I popped a link in the chat about an upcoming webinar where we're going to be diving into our GC and change management and our GC and workplace innovation. So join our webinar, it's in June, and we can kind of really dive more into those two grad certs. And now I'm so excited to welcome the College of Interdisciplinary Studies. They're going to be talking about the Master of Arts in Interdisciplinary Studies. We have Dr. Jo Axe and Willem van Disburg.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And yes, I also have a difficult time saying interdisciplinary studies. Right, so I'm the program head, and I will give you a brief walkthrough of some of the things that you can expect or you could see if you decided to take the MA in Interdisciplinary Studies. So next slide, please. So what does it mean? interdisciplinarity is one of those areas of study where you will be looking at complex problems. So you're going to be looking at how you integrate various different theories from other disciplines into your, maybe your research question, or looking at your particular problems and challenges in the world today through different methods and theories. Excuse me. So there's a number of different ways we do that, and we'll continue walking through this brief presentation, and at the end Willem's going to give us some options that you could consider if you decided to do this particular master's degree. So next slide, please. So what is it that May student wants? Why do May's students come into the program? So there are a number of different reasons. Some people are coming in because they want to create a program from different disciplines that allows them to look at those problems we were talking about earlier and really explore things in the workplace from different perspectives. There are other ways of doing this and things that they're considering, and it's that building the schedule that allows them to continue working, which is very common at RIU. So we have a lot of people who are already fully immersed in the workplace. They have busy family lives, they volunteer, but they're also trying to work their schedules around that. So you can still keep working and continue to study at the same time, which is a big plus. The interesting part about the MAIDS program is because you're taking courses with other schools, in other schools and programs, you're able to build a more diverse network than if you were just taking it from one particular program. So you could potentially choose courses from leadership or communications, or a whole variety. There are 8 different areas that you can choose from. And you'll be working with students in those courses that are focusing in different areas of study. So it's a very interesting opportunity for networking. The other thing that appeals is that if you've got a thesis or a research paper or topic in mind, you can bring that into the program and you can work with your supervisor if you decide to choose that option pathway out of the program and look at that particular topic through the lens of different disciplines. So those are some of the reasons that our students choose to come into the program. So next slide, please. So who are they? This is another question we get asked quite a lot. And if you look down this long list here on the slide, you'll see that there are many different areas that our students are coming in from. I think one of the most important things to note, though, is at the bottom, they're all lifelong learners. And I think that's significant. It's people who want to continue their education while they're in the workplace. Maybe they're looking to move positions into a different career, or if they want to move laterally within an organization, or they've got their eyes set on a different role completely. So that there are many different places our students are coming from, in addition to the ones that you see in front of you, but the lifelong learners is a common thread. Next slide, please. So this is the last slide that I'll be showing you. And what this does is it provides you a little bit of an oversight in how the program is structured. And there are various different options depending on your choice. So when you finish the master's degree, you'll have 36 credits of study. And you will have to take 3 of those courses, which are 3 credits each, in the particular interdisciplinary study focus. So you've got the 3 in the center of the green that you can see on your screen. You've got INDS 500, 505, and 510. So those provide you with a foundation upon which to build as you're going into the other programs. Most of the courses in the programs that you're taking are 3-credit courses. So you'll be building on that to get to your 36 credits. Now, there are many different ways you can do that, and you'll be working with our program advisor to have a look at your options when you decide that you want to do the MACE program. You also have an opportunity to transfer in credits, which is what Cal was referring to earlier. So there's up to 12 credits that you can transfer in. So if you were to take one of the certificate programs, we can have a look at how that might fit into your schedule, and you can move forward in MACE after completing that certificate. Now, there are different ways of looking at how your education might unfold. And one of those is to do your courses completely online. So you could take the entire program without having to come to campus. You'd be missing out a little bit because it's a beautiful campus. But if you like to stay at home, you can definitely do that. So your entire course, you'll have 9 electives, as we mentioned, 9 elective courses in addition to the 3 required courses, and that would complete your program. The second option is to take a residency. So if you wanted to come to campus for up to 2 weeks, as part of that 10-week course, there'll be an initial online, then 2 weeks on campus, and then some post-residency coursework to complete. You could take one of the residency options that we have available to you. And then you could complete the rest of your courses online. So that's a nice combination for those folks who want to have a little bit of everything. The third option is for folks that are really interested in doing research. So if we refer back to what I was mentioning earlier, where you have a research question, you came in and you really want to explore that, you've got a couple of different options to use as your pathway out of the program. And one of those is the thesis. So the thesis is a 12-credit course. You'd be working with a supervisor and have a committee, and you can really dig deep into the topic of your interest. There's another option that we have, which is a 6-credit research paper. Now for that one, you're primarily doing secondary research, which will be looking at literature to see what's been written and what's been studied before about that topic you're really interested in. And that would also allow you to do a little bit more coursework. So there's a bit of a balance in that particular option there. So as I mentioned, you can bring your own topic, and your online electives would complete the course, complete the program for you. So that's the quick guided tour version. I'm going to pass it over to Willem, who's going to give you a little bit more information on course selections.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jo. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Willem, the program advisor. And basically, if you So let's assume you have completed one graduate certificate with professional continuing studies, right? Then we have in regulations, the university can transfer up to 12 credits into the MACE program. So that means that those 36 credits, right, of the MACE program, they will then be lowered to 27 credits because you're then bringing 3 courses in. And then after those 27 credits, then you have 9 credits of those required courses, which then gives you 18 credits to complete. That's equivalent to either 6 standalone online courses, or you can take a residency of 3 courses and 3 online courses. So that's kind of where I come in, or research, of course. And so we have a program guide that I just wanted to show you, because this is where it becomes real. It's all quite abstract, right? To this moment, credits, courses, etc. But basically what we've done with the College of Interdisciplinary Studies is we basically curated courses from all over the university. It's about 230 that we have gathered. And our program heads, previous program head and Jo as well, we've then connected with their program heads to see which courses is suitable, what are the prerequisites, what are the co-requisites, what's the position of the course, the level. And we've all combined it into this program guide. And as you see, they have those 8 different areas or fields, I would say, disciplines, fields. And so let's say you have completed a change management certificate and you like to continue, for example, combine that within the MA with communication culture. Now, then you'll go into this communication and culture area and have a look there and see what excites you most. If my link works. And there we have a list of courses that we then have identified as coming from communication and culture. And there's lots of courses to choose there. For example, you could start off with a theory course around communication, culture, and media, and then include maybe another communication course, but perhaps maybe that's not part of your plan. You like to sideway a little bit more to education. So have a look at education. And there's a couple of good courses in there. For example, there's a really nice course from our environmental education and communication program here, the ECO 508, Learning Theory Program Design, right? So by doing it this way, you can then basically create the university of you. So taking that certificate and then bring it up to the next level with MA courses, and either a course-based or a research version. The other option we have too, so let's say you have then 18 credits of elective coursework to complete, right? Up to your choices within the conditions and the rigor, of course. You could then take residency or blended courses as well. And we have a foundational residency. Just to be frank, though, the foundational residency sits always at the start of other MA programs. So I usually encourage students when they have completed a graduate certificate to level up to more second-year MA courses, and I can help you identify those. But it's still an option for you to take a residency. And that, in, for example, the case of communication and culture, it's usually 3 courses. I'm gravitating towards communication and culture today. And you see then you have 3 courses, and they're all together in one package, basically one massive course, but because of curriculum reasons split up into 3 different courses. And so this is one way you can go about. Yeah. So have a look at this guide. Another thing I wanted to point out is there are some advanced residency courses. They will be very interesting for you if you have completed a graduate certificate and come to the MACE program to continue. For example, we have within communication culture, again, some really interesting courses. And these are electives to their students that you then as a MACE student have access to. For example, there is a course around organizational cultural development. There's conflict analysis and management. But if you really want to, let's say you really want to focus on conflict analysis and management, then you can also go to the original home MA and then go back to online courses, for example, and then have a look at the humanitarian studies. That's where that program lives. So you have to look around a bit and see what lives. But for example, we have the conflict analysis and management courses that are from that MA here, the foundations, and then you can have a few more of those after you've completed this one. And then in this case, the prerequisites are listed underneath. So it's important to have a look at that once you get to that. For example, this course is a prerequisite for this. So my point is everything is connected in this program guide. For you to actually curate your own schedule with our help. So what the process is, we ask you for a list test. So after our conversation, I'll help you select some courses, and maybe you have a really good idea yourself what you want, and then we have a look at that list, and then together with our program office, we then create you a draft schedule that is unique then to you, because we have access to the dates. Courses move around. So that's what we can do then if you think the MACE is a good idea for you, which I think it's a great option to steer towards the MA credential. Final thing I quickly want to mention here, there is before and during applying frequently asked questions, and there's some basic questions about what is an interdisciplinary degree, for example, what will my schedule look like, right? So, and then we will show you what it could look like as an example. Funding links, we have a financial aid and rewards office. So after your graduate certificate, consider a MACE program, the MACE program, and work towards the MA. That gives you lots of flexibility, not in the sense that you can do whatever you want, but flexibility. You can create your own schedule, university view. You decide when you want to take the courses and what course you like to take within the conditions that are set. So I hope that gives you a very short little intro to the program guide. Christy or Amara, I will give it back to you if there's any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we're going to just pull up our slides again. We have a few more final slides, and then we'll jump into questions with Christy and the rest of the team. I'll just share my screen here. Is everybody seeing the same image we saw before Willem shared his screen? Okay, we are. Perfect. So here we are. We're at the point where you're wanting to apply to a program, or you're wanting to know more about the programs. And we've offered a lot of different avenues that you can connect with us. But for questions, this is the way to go. Connect with our enrollment advisors. And we are here to support you and answer any of the questions that you have. If you are a domestic student, the contact information is at the top of the screen. It's learn.more@royalroads.ca. And if you're an international student, the information is learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. And now we'll jump into questions, and I will invite my colleague, Christy Jones here.
Thank you, Amara, and everyone for this amazing presentation. I've been watching the chat box, and I'm going to try and mix in some questions that we can ask. And then stay tuned, because in a few moments, we will also be doing a little giveaway. So don't head out quite yet. And I see some of you may have been having some tech challenges with messaging everyone in the chat box. So feel free to send us a direct message if that function is still working for you. And then we'll loop those back into the conversation. Alrighty, so first question we've gotten, someone is asking if they can complete a certificate and then come back in a few years and decide to take the MAISE program, or do they have to decide to transfer into the MAISE program directly from their certificate?
Great question. The answer is no, you don't have to come back directly. You can stack up to 5 years for a certificate. So in the once at the end of your program, you have 5 years to come back and take something else. So you can, with the MAISE program, and Willem and Jo can talk about this, but you always have this graduate certificate. So once you have that credential from us, you can come back whenever you feel the need to go back and do your MAISE content. So the programs are connected, but not connected by curriculum. They're connected by the transfer credits.
Yeah, that's right. And I could add a little bit more if you like. So we have graduate certificate graduates come to us even up to like after 7 years even. After 7 years, we do have an additional process because courses get older, but in general, if the topic is quite timeless, then we can look at it by case. But yes, you can first graduate and then even a few years after. And I think that's the strength of Calvin's professional continuing studies, because you can first do a small credential, right? And then complete that, get that done, take some time, and then move on with us.
It's a great question. I mean, I think now what we're seeing because of the uncertainties around the pandemic is that, you know, people are really thinking about how to bundle the learning together. And so what I think the nice part about the MAISE Office of Interdisciplinary Studies and also professional and continuing studies is it allows that flexibility and it allows access. So it allows many people who never thought it was possible to actually take an academic program or course before the ability to now get into an academic program, but then also add courses and programs onto what they've done previously, hopefully at Royal Roads, in order to go forward with their learning journey.
Perfect. Thank you both. Another question in here, and there's a few acronyms and I'm not sure what they mean, but I'm going to ask you anyways in case any of you know what it means. So we have a question from Jillian here. Are you a DLI or a PGWP? Oh, with PGWP.
Yeah, I think that's the postgraduate work permit. And if you like, I can quickly say something about that. We have registered immigration student advisors, and maybe one of the enrollment advisors can put in a link there. Postgraduate work permits are very specific, and we're actually, as program staff, not allowed to speak to that because there's implications for immigration reasons. So we have RESARS, throw another acronym back, Registered Immigration Study Advisor. But we did have before with the MAISE program. Yeah, but it all depends on your unique situation and the courses you include and on campus, etc. Yeah.
Perfect. And I don't see any other questions in the chat box quite yet, but I'm going to ask one of my own. And while I do that, if anybody else does have any other questions, feel free to just type it away in the chat box. Something I was wondering, just because you can really custom make your program once you get into the MAISE stream of things. And I'm wondering from your ends, more towards Willem and Jo, once people have taken a graduate certificate, they want to continue on to MAISE, is there any combination that you see people really commonly doing for the other courses that they can take? Like, is there any sort of popular courses that people try to mix up to really complete the full picture of their degree?
Yeah, I can try to answer that. That's a really big question. But I think at large, the difference between the continuing studies, professional continuing studies, and the MA programs is that in generalizing is that it's more applicable what professional continuing studies does. There's more methods, more skill, and I wouldn't say skill-based, but it's more real in the sense that it's more applicable in the workplace. And that's why they are so strong. With, for example, the MA programs, they are more theoretical. And that is the rigor of the MA program, right? And that's why we'll be looking at including some of those other courses in your program that are from other MA programs. Not saying that the graduate certificates don't have any theory, but it's kind of a pivot point, I'd say. So what is very popular, what I see is popular is graduates from graduate certificate comment to us is that, for example, human resources, what Calvin mentioned, right? The strategic human resource or change management. So then you have a change management component or the leadership within human resources, and then taking it to the next step, for example, with some strategy courses from the MPA program, maybe even a coaching course that would be still possible. Take one of our electives, Indigenous Ways of Knowing, for example, or maybe a conflict analysis course, and then kind of blend it out. And then what you end up is with some learning theory, with a little bit of coaching, some change management, some communication. So then you have that direction, and then that will give you a great option for consulting, for example. So that is a very popular pathway coming from the graduate certificates.
I think it's a great point, Will. Our graduate certificates are very much applied. So really, like I said in my part of the presentation, these students are coming with a direct need for something. They need to learn a specific skill set. They need to learn something. Many of our programs are actually taught by PhDs, and so there is theoretical content in our programs. But what we like to say, we call them pracademics, because they're practical. Often our faculty are working as consultants independently of what they do for us, and so therefore you get the benefit of their knowledge who are working right now in organizations. And they're conveying that and helping students learn about what's happening right now and keeping the content current. But they're also using the academic rigor that's involved as well. And so you get a mix of both by connecting Maze and PCS courses and programs together. You get a really great mix of both.
Perfect. Thank you. A question from Nate here. With the laddering, does the same apply for going from a graduate diploma to a MAIS? i.e., can I take a certificate, come back in a couple of years to complete the diploma, and then come back in a couple of years to take the MA?
Yeah, I can try to answer that, Nate. Thank you. That's a great question. Couple of years, a lot of things change, of course, right? So we can't see what's going to happen then. In general, the university regulation is that you can transfer in up to 12 credits. But then again, the MAIS program is based on an individual learning plan. So I wouldn't rule out that there are other options. We have to look at it case by case, but the limit is 12 credits to bring in. After a few years, like I mentioned, 7 years, I believe, is more or less the tipping point for the age of a course. I had a student who wanted to transfer a course around microcomputers from 1982. That's a good example. Lots have changed since, so we have to look at it case by case. I hope that answers it, Nate.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a retro course to transfer in. Another question: how long do MAIS students typically take to complete their programs from start to finish?
Yeah, I'll take this one too. It's anywhere between 2.5 years and the far maximum of 7. I don't want to advertise it, but technically you have up to 7 years to complete your MA degree. There's only 2 out of the 1,000+ students who have ever done that. I mean, it takes too long. There are reasons for it. But my point is that if you get stuck at one moment and life takes over, you have a few children, for example, or something else happens, then there's always other options. But in generally, I think if you do one course at a time, and that is what most of our students do, because our students, the MAIS students, about 250 of them, most of them are between 43 and 50. So more or less, that's the average age. Younger as well, I mean, deviation, right? And they tend to have their jobs and their families. So most of them would like to take just one course at a time. And depends on your sufficiency, right, of reading, writing. How long has it been since you were in school, or did you complete a bachelor degree or not, right, with regards to flexible admissions? Like you could take up to, I would say up to from between 12 to 17 hours a week on one course. In the beginning, it's maybe a little bit lighter, but the units in the courses, most of them are 10 weeks, are quite rigorous. So each week, asynchronized learning, right? So each week you have a clear set of things to do. And there's assignments, there is a team assignments, for example, right? We have a learning and teaching model as well. That's the foundation for that. So it all depends on those factors, but I think you can do it in 3 years, between 2 to 3 years. Yeah. I hope that's answering it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And before we close out the session today, is there any final comments or thoughts that any of you would like to share? Is there any common questions that didn't get asked in the chat box today, but you know lots of students are wondering about, or anything like that?
All I would say is this is a ton of information. This is a lot of information to go over in a very, very short period of time. And so what I would ask is that if students have, or potential students have any other questions, that they rewatch the recording and connect with our enrollment advisors to have a conversation, or myself or Willem or Jo. In talking about this presenting the information to these folks today, a lot of the consideration was made about the fact that students are individuals. That everybody's story is completely different to the next person. And so what our two units have the ability to do is to really work with the student to design something that's really applicable to their own career path and what they want to get out of it. And so if I were to leave something with students on this recording or whoever views it, we really have the ability to be flexible and adaptable, and to work with you to create something that is personally enriching for yourself, but also does what you intend it to do, which is either enhance your career or provide, move up or move around or upskill or reskill or whatever you choose to do. And so we can bundle things together, we can take things apart. There's a lot of flexibility, and it really comes down to the individual, and we'll help you do that.
Willem or Jo, any other final words from you?
No, arguing what Calvin said, it all depends where you're at in your career, right? Like graduate certificates are great ways of having a clear confined period and a clear credential that often goes really well, could give you even a pay raise. I've seen it several times, but also gives you funding, for example, because it's combined, it's relatively short, and you get a credential. So there's the real strength of the graduate certificates, I think. And then you still have the option to upgrade towards an MA, and I think you can't go wrong either way. I'm not a salesperson, but yeah, feel like one now.
Yeah, I think there was a really good comment in the chat about connecting with the alumni. I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice, is talk to the people who've actually gone through the programs. We had a great panel discussion a little while ago. Perhaps we have the link to that we could share, because there was some great observations from people who'd gone through the program, different perspectives. So yeah, it's great. And just thanks to everybody for joining us. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's a great point, Jo. We just did a panel specifically with some of our Maze alumni. So I'm wondering, I don't have the link handy at the moment. Oh, I see Andrea's looking for it. So she'll pop it in the chat box for you to review. Perfect. I think Lisa did as well. Thank you so much. So with that in mind, we are coming to the end of our session, but just a few more final notes. So thank you so much, Willem, Jo, and Calvin, for sharing all of this information. Of course, it is a lot to take in one session, like you said, Calvin. So please do reach out to our teams if you have any other questions. And thank you to Emera for leading us through the start of this session. I'm going to share a final slide just for what is coming up tomorrow. So today is the third day of our open house event, but we have a whole day tomorrow that's all about experiencing some of the learnings and teachings that we have at Royal Roads. So you can learn from our faculty members all day tomorrow and get a taste of that Royal Roads experience. And I also do want